Today's video is on a different topic I haven't done before, but I'm going to be talking about money and specifically about interest. I'm getting a little bit older now, and one thing I've realized is I would much rather earn interest than pay interest. Over the decades, I've paid a lot of interest, especially on car loans and credit cards. So I don't have any more credit cards, but sometimes I was paying, 15%, 20%, 29% on the money that they were so happy to let me use with my credit card. And besides that, these guys would also tack on fees every now and then. Say, hey, you're late, here's a $40 fee. And that's no fun. What'd I get for my $40? Then the car loans, my last car loan I paid off, and that was a 60-month loan. And I regret doing that. I mean, I had a good car and it was reliable. It got me to work and back and stuff like that. But 60 months? That's a lot of time. So let's talk about interest not just as a consumer, but let's switch our hat now and become the mathematician. So as a mathematician, they look at interest as a formula. And here is the formula. I equals P times R times T. So I equals interest. P equals principal, R equals rate, and T equals time. Let's set up an example here. Here's a car loan. The principal is $32,000. That's how much you're borrowing to buy yourself a car. Rate, 8%. And the time, 48 months. So that's a car loan. It could be higher or lower. You might be getting yourself a $60,000 vehicle. Now, credit cards, this might be something like $2,000. You just went and bought yourself some fancy thing online, and your rate could be 19%. And it's over a year, but they collect their money monthly, so there's a monthly statement. How about a mortgage? That's a big loan, like $400,000, $300,000. Your rate might be 4%, 5%, and the time, 30 years, 15 years. That's a lot of time. You start doing the math on those, it starts to be some incredible interest. $500,000 loan, 30 years, 5%. That's a lot of money those banks are making. Now, if you ever travel around, you drive into a new city and you're looking at the skyline and seeing all those big buildings, the biggest buildings with the big old sign and the logo on top are usually banks, or sometimes they're credit card companies. How'd they make their money? They made it off of that interest. Your credit cards and your loans, they're happy to loan it to you because if you're borrowing $1,000, they're not getting back just $1,000. They're getting back $1,000 plus interest. So now I'm at a point where I'm like, you know what? I would rather not be paying interest. I would rather be buying things for cash, and I would rather be collecting interest. Okay, so let's talk about earning interest. So that formula, I equals PRT, is simple interest. There's also compound interest, and that's even better. Compound interest is over the time, they're going to pay you the interest, and then they're going to pay you interest on that interest. If you put in $10,000 and 8% after a year, you've got $80. But the next year, that 80 will also earn interest and the other interest, and it keeps adding up. So compound interest is really great because it grows and grows and grows. It's like a snowball effect. If you take a little snowball and roll it down the hill, it gathers bigger and bigger as it gets down the hill. And Albert Einstein knew a lot of stuff, and you know what Albert Einstein said about compound interest? He called it the eighth wonder of the world. So it's a really amazing thing. So if you can set yourself up with some accounts where you're getting compound interest, you can really grow wealth, and that's your money making money. In my younger days, I was always thinking, I would like to have more money, and I was looking around for ways to make a lot of money fast. I'd like to make some fast money. But now I'm thinking, no, I'm going to try to make slow money. Slow money. And the slow money is okay with me because if you read the little book for 6-year-olds called The Tortoise and the Hare, they have a race. And when they start, the tortoise is slowly plodding along and the hare takes off to a quick start. But what happens in the end is the tortoise slowly and steadily goes and wins the race. So I'm in the tortoise and the hare kind of approach right now, even though I am getting a little bit old. I have a little bit of gray hair now even. The tortoise and the hare. The tortoise is going to win. The slow cooker and the crock pot is going to cook a nice meal. The microwave will take you 2 minutes, but the slow cooker gives you a lot better food. And one other thing that I wanted to mention too is I read a book years ago called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it's Robert Kiyosaki. He grew up in Hawaii, and he had his father and his stepfather. And one of them had the idea that you got to work at a job, you work for a living, and you know how many hours you work, 40 hours a week. They pay you for that, and that's how you get your income. But the other dad was, no, you have to use your money to make money. So that's a really neat way because I have some retirement accounts, and that money is making money. So if you can get yourself $1 million, and that $1 million is making 10% return yearly, then you can live on $100,000 a year, and that $1 million principal is going to stay right there untouched. That's a pretty nice goal to have. If you're young, set yourself up and set up this goal and work towards it, and you can achieve it. Have $1 million and a paid off house and live a good life. For me, I'm trying to do that. It's getting a little bit late in the game now. But anyhow, I'm very happy that at this point in my life, when I get paid, that money is not going to pay the bank's interest fees on credit cards and car loans. So I'm very happy that my money is my money. And I think that's a good recommendation is try to find ways to organize your money so that you're not paying the banks and the credit card companies. As I said, I would much rather earn interest. So how am I earning interest now? The way I'm earning interest now primarily is my retirement fund. I have an IRA, an individual retirement account, IRA. Inside the IRA, that money is protected from taxes because that money is put away for retirement. In my account, I have mutual funds from big companies like T. Rowe Price and Fidelity. And inside the mutual funds, there are stocks. And those stocks pay interest, or called dividends, every year. And the dividends go back in. So as the stocks go up in the mutual fund, sometimes they go up 10%, 11%, 17%. They go up every year, and that money is mine. So that's the one way that I'm very happy to be earning interest. And I have another account that is an HSA. So the employer I have, our health insurance is connected with the HSA, Health Savings Account. And I've been pretty healthy this year. I only went to the doctor a few times, but I'm putting money in there every month, and that money is invested in mutual funds that are earning interest. So in the future, it's inevitable that when you get old, you start needing more doctors and you're going to need that money. So I'll have money in that account that's earning interest that I can pay doctor fees and medical bills in the future. I have a savings account with some money in there, and they're giving me, for $10,000 one month, they give me $2.30. So I'm not really sure what that rate is, but it's not too impressive, and I'm not going to get rich off of that. But that is my emergency fund. I have an emergency fund because if some tragedy happens, like the transmission goes out on my car or a tree falls on my house or something happens, I have money in that account. I can go pay it. Because what happens typically is people have an emergency, so they whip out their credit card and they pay it that way, and the credit card company is going to earn interest. So these are some little things that I've learned along the way about money and about interest. Let me tell you something interesting about banks. How do banks make their money? Banks make their money by collecting interest. When you go in there and get a loan, then if you borrow $10,000, you don't pay back $10,000, you pay back $10,000 plus interest. That plus interest is how they get those tall skyscrapers. They have two things going on. This has been going on for centuries. Banks are putting your money in their vault and they pay you some interest. But, lately the interest is 1%, 2%. Back in the 80s when inflation was very high, they were loaning money at 16%, 17%, 18%. But on the savings accounts, they were paying, 6%, 7%, 8%. So they always have two columns. And the one column is the interest rate for what they're paying the people that are saving the money there. And the other column is the interest that they're charging the people that are borrowing the money. They're never equal. There's always a huge gap, and that gap is where they make their profits. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, how banking works. But they also have other layers in there too, because they have the fees that they charge. Oh, there's a late fee for this, there's a fee for this, and there's a fee for that. And they have a lot of nice fees that they're very smilingly and happily telling you that they're serving you as they charge these fees. Maybe in the future I'll make some videos talking about IRAs and mutual funds and 401ks, because it can be very confusing because there's so many different terms. But how my money's in a mutual fund that is in an IRA. All right, thanks a lot for watching my video. Check back in the future. I'm going to have more videos. In fact, if you take a little snowball and roll it down the hill, the tortoise and the hare, Aesop's Fables, the interest and banks. If I had my remote here, I would turn it off. There it is.